this time on Great Railway Journeys. An invitation to take a trip with veteran traveler and writer Michael Palin is truly irresistible, especially when it's through the spectacular Emerald Isle.
The North Irish coast is good to look at. Big skies, wide bays, broad beaches and chunky limestone cliffs frame the line dramatically. And it only gets better.
It's a spirited journey like no other, a trip filled with rock stars, road bowlers, and even some Hollywood moguls.
And how do you rate the film tonight?
I think the audience is going to enjoy it very much.
We think so too. So all aboard, the adventure is about to begin. Funding for Great Railway Journeys is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the annual financial support from viewers like you.
The British government calls it Londonderry. Most of those who live here call it Derry. This is the first and most obvious sign of the deep divisions that have shaped the city's history. Reminders of war dominate. The great stone walls were built round a town called Derry nearly 400 years ago to protect the newly arrived colonists from England and Scotland, to whose settlement James I gave a charter and the name of Londonderry. Today's fortifications are the legacy of that decision. The present troubles began down here in the bogside 25 years ago. But Ireland never had it easy. 150 years ago, my own great-grandmother fled the country from the potato famines that claimed so many lives. My railway journey, which begins here in Derry at the northern end of the line, is in a sense two journeys. One tracing that best-kept of all transport secrets, the Irish railway system, and the other an attempt to trace the Palin line back to my own Irish ancestor. I begin this journey into the past by trying to catch up with the present, to find out what it feels like to live in the middle of such conflict and confrontation. Well, Derry seems to be undergoing something of a revival. There's investment in housing and tourism. They've restored a 2-mile stretch of the old Donegal Railway as a link line to the main station. It's here, on a 60-year-old rail bus by the River Foyle, I met Kate Bond, born and bred in the city. I mean, Derry to most outsiders, or Londonderry, I'm never quite sure which way you're supposed to refer to it, but I mean, it is synonymous with the troubles that, sort of the present troubles, which began here 25 years ago. I mean, how did that affect your own childhood? How aware were you of what was going on?
Well, I mean, you are aware of it. I certainly have a lot of memories of, coming home from school and being caught up in riots and tear gas. And I can remember getting stoned a few times because you're wearing a school uniform that denotes what school you're from. You're also aware of always the checkpoints and, the security presence and so on, but that has lessened over the years in Derry.
What do you feel about the city now? I mean, from what I've seen of it, it looks to be rather a fine city undergoing a bit of a regeneration. It's got shops, cafes, it looks pretty good. How do you feel about it now?
I feel very, very positive about it now. I think a lot of money has come into Derry over the last few years, and there is a great regeneration, there's a great optimism, a great spirit about Derry now.
What are the bad signs?
Well, I suppose you'd have to say that the violence is continuing. 24, 25 years down the line, there's still over 3,000 people have been killed. And there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of betrayal, there's a lot of mistrust, and that's all going to have to be worked through.
You're very calm and sane about it all. How do you keep so calm and sane?
I've been living here for 25 years.
25 years ago, the railways of Northern Ireland were fighting a rearguard action in the face of savage service cuts. Down in the Republic, the west of Ireland was virtually abandoned by rail. A direct line from one end of the railway system to the other, from Derry to Kerry, is 250 miles on the map, but 650 miles on the ground. snaking round the coast where the big cities lie. Mind you, if you're not in a hurry, this can be pretty good. The Irish love their history and won't let their railways die. Special excursions like this one, behind an 80-year-old veteran of the Great Northern Railway, is full of those who, like Tom McDevitt, refuse to forget.
I was a relief clerk on the railway, but of course before that I was an ordinary clerk, you see, in a little town called Strabane, which was the junction for the Donegal railways.
How many years did you work on the railway?
Oh, about 40. So, you know.
Do you remember this engine, this particular engine?
Oh, I remember this engine. In fact, this engine is the same age as myself. It was built in 1900 and something or other, you know.
Something or other. And it's still,
11 or
still
12.
going very well.
And it's still going very well. So am I, for that matter. It's a lovely engine. They call it Slieve Gullion, and I'll tell you why. It's called after one of the mountains. You'll see it when you're going from Belfast to Dublin. It's on your right-hand side, Slieve Gullion. Well, this photograph I want to show you. This is of the Clougher Valley Railway, which ran alongside the railway, the road. It didn't run, it crawled. And there was one place it stopped because it was held up by a goat. A big goat. Yeah. And the goat belonged to a woman, and they called her Maggie Coulter, or Maggie Coulter, you see. And the goat used to stay there. And the fireman used to pelt the goat with lumps of coal. And when Maggie thought that there was enough coal along the side for her to light the fire, she called the goat in, and the train went on.
Doing here, if I may ask? Is it numbers you're taking down?
No, timing.
Post now.
Timing the train, seeing what sort of performance the engine's putting up for the day. And up to now, she's been doing very, very well.
She? What do you time it by? Your friend there looking out of the window, he's concentrating hard. On what?
On the mileposts.
The milepost.
There's a milepost every quarter of a mile, and we can decipher with our times and the stopwatches what speed we're actually doing over the quarter mile.
Right. How are we going?
Very good.
So are train enthusiasts sort of pan-Irish, non-sectarian?
Oh, I would say that's all right, Michael, yes.
It's a united front.
United front was for steam.
In a land where so much of the language is dedicated to the subtleties of division and confrontation, this is a fair point. These people belong to the Railway Preservation Society of all Ireland, and the engine they've so lovingly restored first ran in the days when Ireland was all one country. There is something about railways that unites. There's also something about railways that makes life seem tantalizingly simple. It's a world in which choices are made for you, courses mapped out, paths already plotted, and the direction is always forward. The North Irish coast is good to look at. Big skies, wide bays, broad beaches and chunky limestone cliffs frame the line dramatically. And it only gets better. This is Dunluce Castle, perched so precariously on its cliff top that the entire kitchen once slipped into the sea while a meal was being prepared. The Giant's Causeway is already in the sea. It's a basalt rock split into 37,000 polygonal columns, or if you prefer it, built by the giant Finn McCool to bring his loved one over from Scotland. And this is the 10:15 to Belfast.
You couldn't have chosen a better season for travelling, because just look around you. The greenery is so unsullied, you know, the traffic hasn't dirtied it.
All I can
I
see
just
is
love
rain.
this time of the year.
All I can see out there is drizzle at the
Oh
moment.
no, I see beautiful green shirts and
yes.
little white hawthorn blossoms and things like that.
Well, you can't have one without the other. Do you
No,
use
it
the
isn't.
train very often?
Very seldom, no. I nearly had a heart attack this morning when I bought my ticket. It was £8.90, I think. And the last time I travelled, it was £3.
How long ago was that?
Longer than I care to remember. Oh, I'm sure 10, 15 years.
Do people use the train, your friends and
No,
acquaintances
but
use
see,
the train?
Northern Ireland now is very car conscious, and most, because I suppose of remoteness of living accommodation and so forth, and if you can afford it at all, you have an old banger of some type, and you use it.
Have you an old banger?
No, I've a Renault 5, 2 years old.
Single track and stately speeds show where the transport priorities lie in Northern Ireland, but it certainly stops you from rushing. I'd probably have missed this altogether if I'd been on one of those Euro Expresses. Shane's Castle, ancient home of the O'Neills, on the banks of Lough Neagh, was destroyed by fire 170 years ago. Here, amongst the green fields and woods of County Antrim, the present Lord O'Neill has set about rescuing some of Ireland's rich heritage of narrow-gauge locos.
I'm afraid it's fairly noisy, and the track is not absolutely dead smooth.
Steam engines should be noisy. What I want to know is how you became Lord O'Neill, the engine driver. Doesn't seem...
Well, I think I probably was almost born like that, you know. I kept my model railway going until I was getting on a bit, shall we say, and put it away for a bit, and then as soon as we started having children, we got it out again. But no, I've always had a deep interest in railways.
So this is an extension of really playing with railways as a boy.
Yes, it's a bit more than that in that, you know, it does provide, it's a tourist attraction.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in the context of Northern Ireland at the moment, where tourists are still a bit scarce, it's not as good as it ought to be.
Are you, as far as you're aware, the only lord who is also an engine driver, or are there other driving peers?
Well, there are one or two. I think we're a fairly small group, yes.
Tourism in Northern Ireland may never be an easy ride, but if it's quality, not quantity you're after, I can thoroughly recommend the Shane's Castle Railway as one of the slowest but happiest ways to cross the province. Belfast, capital of Northern Ireland, is one of my favourite cities. Certainly no contender in an urban beauty contest. What she lacks in looks, she makes up for in energy, courage and determination. Belfast not only lives with the daily problems caused by its fiercely divided communities, it contrives to try and live well. There's not an ounce of self-pity here, or a hint of self-apology. This soldier is a Belfast boy. For him, it's the best city in the world. Then why do some of its citizens still want to destroy it? I take a trip along Falls Road with Ivor Oswald, a local businessman who refuses to take sides.
This is a totally nationalist part of Belfast.
What, 100%?
Be 100% nationalist and Catholic. And in fact, this had developed in the latter end of the last century, based on some of the linen mills, as the Catholic population came in from outer north of Ireland.
What have we got on the right here?
That, in fact, is a gable which depicts Bobby Sands, the hunger striker, and a hero.
Starved himself to death.
Absolutely, but would be a hero of a particular section of the community, because one has to recognise this is a community that is entirely nationalist, has its own traditions, its own culture, which hasn't entirely been respected over the years, which has led to all of the alienation.
I mean, coming up the Falls Road, it really isn't what I expected. You know, it doesn't look like a war zone it's painted. I mean, there's school children coming home from school and little front gardens and hospitals and all that. I mean,
well, it's a normality of its own. In fact, if you look around the streets of the Falls and the Shankill, people go about their normal business as you and I would in what really are predominantly working class territory.
But you don't have to look far behind the apparent normality of shops and schools and churches to see the signs of something peculiarly Irish. The myths and legends of military defiance, history, politics and religion entwined.
The root of the Northern Ireland problems is the fact that the Protestant Unionist community of Northern Ireland are a minority in the whole of Ireland, whereas the Catholic Nationalist community of Northern Ireland are the minority in the north. Each, in fact, fears the other. We are now entering Loyalist, Protestant, Unionist Shankill, which takes its name, in fact, from the Irish for Old Church, believe it or not, although we've come from a district which will speak Irish to a district that doesn't speak Irish.
But the two of them are actually right back up, one against the other.
Cheek by jowl, totally juxtaposed, and now separated by peace lines. We're now going to confront a peace line. For some 3 miles, in fact, this separates the Shankill from the Falls Road. And you're now looking at no man's land between the two communities, which was, in fact, the very seat of the Troubles in the early part of the 1970s.
Well, to a stranger to Belfast, you would look at this and say this is complete desolate wasteland. It's more reminiscent of Berlin than anything we'd expect to see in our own country. Is there anything positive at all about that?
Yes, what you're looking at is each side has its own culture, its own tradition, and no one should travesty the fact that these communities have a vibrancy and a life of their own. But in reality, you're looking at two traditions, two cultures, two nationalities, and that is the essence of the problem.
They tried to find a solution to the problem here at Stormont Castle, once the seat of government in Northern Ireland. They failed, and now it stands helpless and redundant. But it's not all bad news. A stone's throw from Stormont, the film industry is alive and well. The film industry of the 1950s, that is. Noel Spence built the Tudor cinema from a chicken shed in the garden of his suburban bungalow. His brother Roy, another Hollywood tycoon, explains.
Within a radius of a very few miles of where we're standing, I would say there must be 15 to 20 home cinemas.
Really?
There's an epidemic of them in this area for some reason.
Why?
That's a very, very difficult question to answer. I've tried to analyse this myself, and it's difficult to know. About the 1970s, when cinemas in general were having a bad time, and cinemas in Belfast were having it even worse because of the Troubles.
All right.
I think in central Belfast there must have been about 2 or 3 cinemas to go to. Yeah. And about that time, people started to develop their own home cinemas.
Yeah. Noel, manager and projectionist, explains his programme policy.
Fringe films, I suppose you would call them. They're not mainstream films. A bit esoteric stuff like 50s JD movies, juvenile delinquency films from the 50s, or science horror films from the 50s. It's nearly all 50s films.
Is that your particular taste?
Yes, it is, which I inflict upon others, but they don't seem to object too much.
Well, there's an audience coming in tonight.
Yes, there's an audience tonight, yes indeed.
Does that mean that the other cinemas that run like this in people's back gardens and all that, do they all show different kinds of films? Are you in competition?
Oh, no, absolutely not, no. Some people like to show musicals, and some show westerns, some show film noir from the 40s. I just happen to like the 50s and specialise in those particular B movies, they call them.
And how do you rate the film tonight?
I think the audience is going to enjoy it very much.
I actually enjoyed the audience rather more than the film. Where else but in Hollywood County Down would people turn up in costumes from the movie? I can't wait to see the audience for Jurassic Park. Back in Belfast, another day begins at the Europa Hotel, proud holder of the title of most bombed hotel in Europe. For me, it's a short walk across the road to the Royal Opera House to meet its administrator, my old friend Michael Barnes. He's primarily responsible for my affection for Belfast, and it is a cruel irony that 3 weeks after we filmed, a 1,000-pound bomb went off at this very spot, blasting away the wall of his magnificent theatre for the second time in 3 years. But today our destination is the brand new Ulster Transport Museum. I'm afraid our fondness for Belfast is matched only by an excessive fondness for all things railway. What sort of vintage would this be?
It's early 20th century, yeah, and would have been chugging around, no doubt, in the outskirts of Belfast, taking commuters in.
What I like about Ireland is there seem to be so many different railway companies, you know, different liveries, the Donegal, and what's GNR?
It is Great Northern, of course it was the Great Northern in England, but
and over here,
this one,
this is
wonderful
again.
coaches,
What's this, the Dundalk, Newry and Greenore Railway Company in Britannia, shaking hands with Hibernia.
Yes, Greenore was a cross-channel port.
And look at the sign, I mean, the variety of places that there are on there.
Yeah, Strabane, alas, has no railway anymore.
Certainly the
all
biggest
gone.
Signboard I've ever seen in the station. Build the station just to fit it. Ireland once had 200 separate railway companies. Mostly they required small engines for short distances, but they had their giants as well. This was the biggest. This was the biggest engine to run in Ireland.
Yes, and largely from Dublin to Cork. There were 3 of these. And the touching thing is that this magnificent locomotive, because it really is magnificent, was actually a present from the south to the north. And nice, friendly gesture.
Cross borders.
Absolutely, they do. And it's in beautiful condition. Yeah. And I think it could one day, steam again.
Today's cross-border services leave Belfast for Dublin 4 times daily, and they're set to improve. £80 million is to be spent upgrading the Enterprise service, which is run jointly by North and South. Yet only 4 years ago, the terrorists tried to kill it off altogether. The response from both sides was the creation of the Peace Train by Chris Hudson from Dublin and Sam McCourtry from Belfast.
It began in October 1989 when a group of people decided that the policy that the IRA had of bombing and disturbing the line between Belfast and Dublin didn't make sense, and it was time to them and challenged it. And the way in which they were challenged was that a train was chartered, a big notice put across the front of it, Peace Train. It was filled with people from right across the divide, with academics, politicians, ordinary folk. And we made the journey then from Dublin to Belfast, and we brought the Dubliners north, and then we all went back down again, bringing the Northerners to the south to make a point.
I mean, one of the nice things I had happen to me was recently there was a football match between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, and a gang of lads from the Shankill Road, which is in the heart of loyalist Belfast, called the Shankill Defenders Club, phoned me up and said, will you come to the match with us? And I went to the match, and I was up on the terrace with them, and they had Union Jacks and loyalist flags, but they carried a Peace Train banner. And one of the funny things was every time they held up a Union Jack, some of the Dublin supporters down on the lower terrace had apoplexy, screaming abuse of this Union Jack. But when they take that down and put up the Peace Train banner, there'd be cheers and applause for the Peace Train. So in that sense, we like to claim that it's working.
We're running through South Armagh, rolling hills and meadows quilted with dry stone walls. It's also bandit country, and the beauty can be deadly. As we cross the border, I'm left with two potent images of the north. The military digging in on one side of the train, and a wedding on the other. Life goes on. ...113 miles south of Belfast and twice its size is Dublin, once the second city of the British Empire, now the capital of the Irish Republic. Great British buildings like the post office are now shrines of independent Ireland, and though the streets and faces have a familiar feel to them, there are characters here who could only be found in Ireland. Like Molly Malone's, ancient and modern.
Anyone got tobacco? Anyone got tobacco? Only a pound of
In O'Connell Street, the Irish show that they can be as grand with their past as anyone else. But their national heroes range from the local, Jim Larkin, the trades union leader, William Dargan, the railway builder, to the world-renowned Bernard Shaw, James Joyce. For a country of only 3.5 million people, Ireland continues to produce more than her fair share of world beaters. I rode the train around Dublin Bay with one of them, The Edge from U2, the most successful rock band of our time.
There's a combination of healthy disrespect for authority and traditions within the Irish that attracts them to things like music, rock and roll, and writing. If you notice all the great Irish writers, they tended to really take liberties with the form, you know. James Joyce being the obvious example. I mean, he almost created his own language out of the English language. Oscar Wilde with his aphorisms and his whole way of looking at things was very much his own. And I think that spirit of questioning, of not taking things on face value, of kind of being a little bit suspicious, has given the Irish a very particular way of looking at the world and of things that most other people just take for granted. There's something deeply kind of personal about the way that people relate to you in Ireland that deflates the whole impersonality of being a star, which we find really helpful and healthy, and we like that. The whole idea of us being ambassadors of people looking to us for leadership or some clue as to the way they should act or think completely terrifies us, and we really would much prefer that we're perceived as we are, which is just a rock and roll band.
More than half Dublin's million-strong population is under 25 and growing every year. It's all a far cry from the dark days of the 19th century when young Irish men and women couldn't wait to get out of the country. In the National Library, I begin my search for one of them, my own great-grandmother. Her name was Brita Gallagher. I know she went to America, but I want to know where she came from. I've enlisted the help of Tom Lindert, a professional genealogist.
What we have here is the index of surnames, which basically delineates all the names throughout Ireland by county. Do you have any idea, was there family tradition as to where she came from, or?
Well, I mean, it's sort of Tipperary and the West. I mean,
okay. That's understandable.
All I know is that she left at some time between probably 44 and 50 for America from, I think, Tralee.
Yes.
And someone told me there's a place called Blennerville, which is where a lot of people left from.
Yes.
Right?
If she was from the area of like Cork or Tipperary, she could have left from Blennerville. She also could have left from Cork, or possibly she might have left from Limerick. There's avenues open. It all depends on what happened in her village at the time. Now, as you'll see here, there's the name Gallagher.
And these is everyone in Ireland at this
Every
period?
family in Ireland is indexed in this by county. However humble, because these are just tithe payers or rent payers or whatever. They have to be recorded. It's like a census, only a little bit more general. They don't give biographical information. Do you know any other information that we can sort of try to narrow this down a little bit more?
Well, I know that she went to the States and she was adopted, I assume adopted by a lady called Caroline Watson. She's sometimes referred to as her aunt, but I don't think it was her aunt. But she was Caroline Watson of Burlington, New Jersey. I know that much.
Now, Watson is also an Irish name. So, right there we have a clue. You don't think it's a clue because it happened on the American side. But you have to realize that oftentimes people who left Ireland went to people who they knew in America. So the next thing...
So she could have been, I mean,
she could have been related.
The aunt thing maybe was...
Well, you know, that's something... But it gives us an opportunity to cross-reference the two names. That way we can look for a place in Cork, Tipperary, whatever, that has the surname Gallagher and Watson. So immediately we're narrowing it down.
Is this sort of ancestor tracing? Is it big business, this?
Yeah, it's amazing, actually. It is. And when I first started genealogy about 15 years ago, I always thought, well, I'm the only one who's interested in doing anything about my family. But as we started doing more and more research, it was amazing to see the growth. One of the things that helped our company particularly was Hibernian Research did Ronald Reagan's ancestry.
He was brought up by a cowboy family.
Well, amazingly enough, his ancestors were dirt farmers, but that's just a story generations earlier.
How do you farm dirt?
You move it from place to place. They moved. They moved with the work. That was just the phrase they used.
Where there was demand for dirt, they moved there.
This is Trinity College, Dublin, founded at the time of Elizabeth I as a bastion of Protestant Anglo-Ireland. The people's religion, on the other hand, was always Catholicism, and the local priest is still very much at the centre of things. This is the All Priests Show, a highly successful charity fundraiser with its own fan club. They play up to 3 shows a week and have even toured. Father Gary Sullivan learnt guitar at the same school as U2.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I suppose some of you have seen the All Priest show before, and as you know, in the course of the evening, you're going to meet all sorts of priests. We got fat priests, skinny priests, hairy priests, baldy priests, all sorts of priests. So we usually start by singing a bit of a hymn. You can remain seated with this one, sister.
Not all the women of Ireland are happy with the Catholic Church. Abortion remains illegal here, and until very recently, contraceptives could only be bought on a doctor's prescription. But tonight is for entertainment, not politics, and the church displays an impressive determination to let its hair down.
So soon was Murphy inside the surgery. The doctor said to Murphy says, I can't diagnose what's wrong with you, he says. It must be the drink. Murphy says, that's all right, doctor. He says, I'll come back when you're sober. No, as a matter of fact, I was born in England, actually. I was born in England. Went to school in Scotland. Very tired when I got home. Last time, let's hear it. Sweet Caroline.
Might have been the Guinness or the sprightly company of Sister Eileen, but I found myself won over with Shameful Eve.
I've been inclined to believe they never would. Sweet Caroline. Good night, everybody. Sweet Caroline. Have a nice time now. You've been a lovely audience. Sweet Caroline.
Leaving the flesh pots of Dublin along the first stretch of public railway to be opened outside England, William Dargan's Dublin to Kingstown line of 1834, and by a stroke of luck on a steam run down to Rosslare. Only this time I have to earn the ride. There's a knack to this that Fred Astaire would have been proud of. I can't tell you how old the driver is, but the engine's 71. For several years, she suffered the ultimate indignity of being used as a stationary boiler, but recently rebuilt at a cost of more than £30,000, sorry, punts as they have in Ireland. She was relaunched last year by Mary Robinson, the president. Nowadays, it seems there's no retirement age for steam. Doing this in the first place?
Well,
meanwhile, back on the footplate, one of the trainee drivers is having second thoughts about his new vocation.
They trained 8 of us last year as firemen.
They trained 8 of you?
Eight young drivers. So we're fully qualified diesel drivers.
So you're one of the only 3 that survived the course?
The course, yeah.
And you hate doing it anyway?
But I hate doing it.
There's no hope for steam, is there?
Ah, that is, yeah.
An exhilarating run along unspoilt coastline through the foothills of the Wicklow Mountains, we make a slow, triumphant progress through the town of Wexford. After which our arrival at the Rosslare ferry terminal is a sad anticlimax. What's more, it's Sunday, and from here on, Irish Rail is closed. There's nothing for it but to seek alternative transport. These boys look privatised. Excuse me.
How you doing?
I'm fine, except my plight seems to touch them deeply. And amazingly, I find myself co-opted to the Harley-Davidson Owners Club of Ireland. As the only Sunday rail service in these parts heads back to Dublin, I hit the 2-lane blacktop, heading for Waterford. For some unexplained reason, South East Ireland is a mecca for bikers. And though most of my escorts soon get bored, Swifty, Eamon and Mike stay with me. Underneath the leather, they seem more Rotary Club than Hells Angels.
We're all family men.
Really? What do you do?
Well, I'm a bus driver. I drive for the local bus company here.
So this is hobby, or more serious than that?
It's a way of life. The bikes, the Harleys, they get into your blood, and that's it. They're there for good.
And these are no ordinary hogs. The one Eamon's riding is an Electra Glide in blue, once owned by Sid Vicious.
How much a bike like that be worth? About £8,000. Investment for the future. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Are you coming with us to Waterford?
Yeah, all the way. Okay.
True to their word and his name, Swifty's railway replacement service delivers me well ahead of schedule on the outskirts of Waterford, where the pace changes quite dramatically. An old chain ferry conveys me at deliciously unfrenzied speed across the River Blackwater to an island where the weary traveller can find a modest little B&B. Waterford Castle, with its layers of history as thick as the walls, seems an appropriate place to learn from my genealogist of his latest piece of detective work. He's found Brita Gallagher's marriage certificate in Paris. Neither of her parents were mentioned in it, which is unusual. He's also located a nest of mid-19th century Gallaghers recorded as living near the village of Buttevant in North Cork. It isn't far away, and the journey can be done by train. Going west from Waterford along the Blackwater Valley through Clonmel and Tipperary to Limerick Junction. Then south on the Dublin-Cork main line to Buttevant? No station. It'll have to be Mallow. There being no train until tomorrow, I have time to visit one of my favourite authors, who lives nearby. For 60 years she's written wickedly comic books about the Anglo-Irish aristocracy, among whom she was brought up. But things weren't always easy for Molly Keane. When she started out, she had to use a male pseudonym.
In my generation, you know, the whole thing was you got a row if you were talking like the servants sort of thing, which has really died out now, but still, most of the boys of those families were all sent to public schools in England. Eton, if they could afford it, Eton and Harrow or otherwise.
The boys got a good education. Now, when you started to write and you wanted to write, yes, I mean, you had to write under a boy's name.
You see, everything was strictly, there was always the heir, and the girls didn't matter as long as he was all right. And that was very much the way of it.
What sort of things did you write to start with?
I wrote I'm sure very sentimental little pieces about the beauty of the great outdoors and about horses and about just no sex, no love. But then I came home, discovered my sister having a mild love affair. I was very jealous, age 17, and then got shut up in my bed, still in a state of jealousy, and thought, well, I'll write about life as I know it'll be when I'm a little bit older. But I never read my books again. I have a sort of a feeling that it's like that terrible verse in the Bible. Do you know the verse I mean? It talks about the dog returning to his vomit.
Oh, really? It's always on my mind. Monday morning on the Tipperary line, and ancestor hunting begins in earnest. All change here for Mallow and Cork. This is the longest platform in Ireland. Not many people know that. A chap who looked not unlike me said my great-granny left from Tralee. He made his prediction with so much conviction the BBC paid him to see.
Train now arriving on platform number 1 serves Charleville, Mallow and Cork, with a connection at Mallow for Bantier, Bay Street, Bradmore, Killarney.
This is the fastest service on Irish Rail, connecting Dublin with the second biggest city, Cork, in 2.5 hours. Unlike most other things in Ireland, it's marketed not for its past, but its future. Afternoon.
Hello, sir. Would you like a set of headphones?
I'll have everything you've got, yes.
Okay. Well, first I'd like to tell you about the seat. These seats are adjustable there for your own comfort.
Yeah.
Also here at the table console we have a light.
Yeah. Magnificent.
And then there's a light up above here.
Yes, I came to Ireland to get away from all this. She even offers me a fax machine, but I don't know. I suppose I'm old-fashioned. Hello, Tom. Yes, I'm speeding into the heart of Gallagher territory. Thanks very much for sending the material. I got it in the hotel in Waterford. Yeah, the Palin Gallagher stuff. Well, we're going down to Mallow, and then I'm going to check this place Buttevant out and 1 or 2 villages round there, because North Cork seems good. good hunting ground for the Gallagher connection. This is not a tourist board film or a street in Disneyland. It's the village of Buttevant, and it proves that everything you heard about Ireland is true. I've been told I can't miss the local historian. He runs the filling station. And the local shop. Looking for Tony O'Neill's bar.
Just through there.
Oh, thanks. And the pub. Tony O'Neill.
That's right. That's right. You're in the right place.
Found you. Good. I've got a bit of everything here, haven't you? Filling station, grocery store, bar.
Yes. And in the old days, we did a little bit better than that because right outside there was a bakery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this was this the bakery for the whole village, or?
No, there were several more small bakeries. There were small bakeries at that time.
Yeah.
There were no major bakeries around the area, and each town had its own self-contained bakeries.
So how far are we going back here?
We're going back to 1901, 1902.
Actually, I need your help because I'm looking for the local graveyard.
Oh, I'll be delighted to show you the way. I'll take you there.
Thank
but
you very
first,
yeah.
Can I send you up a lovely pint?
Yeah. First things first. Look after the living.
Slanta.
Slanta.
Buttevant churchyard yielded no Gallaghers. There might have been in the parish records, but they were either buried elsewhere or were too poor to afford a decent tombstone.
It's a fine church. It is, and there's a very interesting thing about the church. As you see that steeple in the background,
yeah,
it is actually the steeple that created the word steeplechase. Two gentlemen by the name of O'Callaghan and Blake, believing to have the two best hunters in the country, had a wager as to who would reach the steeple of the St. Leger Church in Donwell first. Yeah. And they just from outside the fence here, they took off over 4.5 miles of very rough country. First obstacle there, the Arbeg River flowing fast, ravine down and up, but they were prepared for this challenge, and they made the trip. They both survived, and O'Callaghan won the challenge. And as you can now see, the world famous word steeplechase, a chase from the steeple of St. John's in Buttevant to the St. Leger Church in Donwell was born.
Tony's comprehensive knowledge of everything eventually points me to a village called Glanwer, some 20 miles away. Here at last I found the name I was looking for. Gallaghers, who died in the 1820s. They could have been Brita's family, but there's no mention of any women folk, so there's no way of knowing. My ancestor remains frustratingly elusive. In fact, the closer I get, the more the options widen. Back at Buttevant, the shadows lengthen and the evening's sport begins. This is the ancient and lethal game of road bowling. Basically, all you need is banknotes, bowlers, a 28-ounce cast iron ball, and a row. Bets are laid as to which team can get their ball 3 miles up the road quickest. It's not quite the royal and ancient, but an appreciative gallery of barroom bowlers follows the action. They even have stewards in crested blazers. This is serious stuff.
That's one of the marks now, and his partner is throwing from this mark.
That's where the first throw came to rest.
It would be considered by our own standards a relatively poor throw. By normal standards, it's not a great
What's
throw.
the distance between this and the other throw? 100 yards or so.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It hasn't. It's only just under about 50 metres or so, you know.
No one seems to be worried about closing the road. It's like holding Wimbledon in Piccadilly Circus.
One way outlet, you.
Come on, then. Come on.
With the right technique and skillful use of the camber, bowlers like Christie can throw 250 metres or more. What's the skill needed? What do you need? You
Flick of the wrist.
Ah.
Not necessarily, just
Yeah.
swing of the arm. You could see some very strong men and they have no power in the bowl, so just the flick of the wrist, really.
Yeah. Do you spin it? Do you spin the bowl?
Spin the bowl, exactly, yeah. You would let it off the palm of the hand and over the top of the finger there, like you would spin the bowl.
Well, how did you learn?
Sure, at a very young age. You know, we
Your
lived at a
father
very, very
played?
young age. He did, yes, way back centuries, yeah. It was always in the family, so.
Okay, right.
Started
Right,
off
I
at a
think
very
we're
young
gonna-
age, that's the whole thing, to start doing up.
Yeah. Gotta get out the way, we're going to get
Right.
hit. As I follow the crowd on this long summer evening, I have the oddest sensation that no time has passed. It could be Brita Gallagher walking beside me. This is all that remains of the old Tralee and Dingle light railway. It runs across 2 miles of reclaimed marshland to a little place called Blennerville, where stands a windmill, which was probably the last thing that millions of departing emigrants saw of their country. Blennerville is the most westerly station in Ireland. Truly, the end of the line. Today, parties of school children descend on the well-scrubbed heritage centre, where a clean and wholesome present tries vainly to recapture the grim realities of the past. Between 1845 and 1851, 1.5 million people left Ireland, 18% of the population. From a land devastated by famine, they took to the oceans of the world in conditions so mean and filthy that the vessels were often simply known as coffin ships. My great-grandmother was among them. I looked through the Blennerville passenger lists in vain. They're not all complete. Some are in Cork or Derry or Limerick. Many more are held in the ports of entry. And I suppose I must face the fact that she may never have been recorded. But at least by going to Buttevant and coming here to Blennerville, I can imagine have been, and what she might have seen as she left her homeland forever 140 years ago. For now, it's back to Tralee and home. I've found what remains of the railways of Ireland, but I've still to find Brita Gallagher. That journey's only just beginning.
Funding for Great Railway Journeys was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the annual financial support from viewers like you.